Money makers, good day! My name is Paul Du Plessis, aka the EMS guy. Welcome back to this channel. Please check out my first video, which is on the topic on the government. First video we tackled the section on levels of government, and today we're gonna delve deeper into the roles of government for households. That means you. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe now so that you do not suffer from FOMO. Let's dive in. Rightio, so we're back. Now I'm handing the baton. From the previous video we discussed national government. We're taking the hat off and we're putting on our new hat, which is the provincial government. What is the role of the provincial government for us as households? Let's dive in. So the provincial government, this is the premier of the province. Now this guy cannot be alone. This gentleman or lady, they cannot be alone. They have to have a team. Like the president's got his ministers, his members of parliament. So this premier needs to have his mini parliament in a sense. So his team. And we call them MECs. It's the members of the executive council. Right, they're the political heads of each department. So each department that you saw in the previous video of the ministers of the president, they are the heads in the province with regards to their specific departments. Right, and their job is to get their own teams. So each department's got the MEC, then they appoint the director general, the directors, and the public servants to work in each department. There's that word again, public servants. That doesn't make them cleaners or anything. It's called public servants for the interest of the people. Alright, so the examples of the departments per province, I've given you a snippet. Some of them include the finance department, the economic development department, education, housing, tourism, and the education department is really incredibly important. Let's take COVID for example. When it started, the national government made a decision. Let's shut down, let's stop this virus from spreading. And that had implications. So the Minister of Education had to say, how are we going to implement it? Close the schools. Then they said, let's get step by step, let's get back into it. So each head of a department, the MECs, they had to make sure that these plans were implemented in their province. So they delegated these responsibilities right down to the core, to every school. And that's why it's important to understand the handover of the baton. Right, so provincial department or government in the sense, they pay teachers' salaries as well as the resources. So if you're using a book that's paid by the government, that is one of the roles that they provide. And it comes from the provincial. It's not national and it's not your local municipality that does it. It is the provincial government that renders that service. And that's the same for the nurses and hospitals to get the resources. They also give instructions and duty. Now this is again the delegation where they hand over the baton to the local municipality to get the message, but they keep the authority so that when something happens they have to give account of it. That's why I keep my hard hat on. Let's say the roof falls in, then I'm fine. Okay, so the different roles, they have the following areas of responsibility. They provide electricity, they provide water for households, sewage, stormwater, refuse. You can see some of them overlaps with the national government, right? It's the national government's responsibility, but they've delegated it now to provincial to make sure that each dam in each province has got enough water for the surrounding citizens. It's not the president's job. It's now provincial level, but it all boils back down actually to the president to make sure it happens. Alright, and then the last thing is for households. We as consumers or households need to pay for these services, right? So when you get water and electricity, when you have sanitation, when you pay property taxes, it's important that the government receives their taxes. The Bible even says, pay Caesar what is Caesar's. So tax is right. We need to pay tax. It is fair. And they should use the money fairly for the benefit of all South Africans. Right, and these taxes is the income of the local government, local municipality, but it all gets transferred back into the budget, right, so that everyone has access to it. So let's combine all of it. Let's summarize it. So I've got my three hats here. People need essential goods and services that the private sector cannot provide. Let's think of public roads or national roads from Gauteng to Eastern Cape. To have one company provide all of that would be it would be a big company. It's almost impossible. Not totally, but almost, because the scale of it is so big. Now you've got the whole country, you've got smaller communities. To maintain it is almost impossible, and that's why it's an essential service that only the government can supply. They can outsource it when they get to a specific space, but it's still their responsibility. They provide employment to many people in this industry, from teachers to healthcare workers. They are also responsible for economic growth by helping the business to build infrastructure, to make it easier for businesses. They must make sure that they don't deplete natural resources. Grade 8 and 9, we're talking about scarcity. So when you hear that scarcity, it means there's not a lot of it. So we must make sure we use it sustainably. So in summary, if the government provides all of this, we know that we're on the right track. So I want to challenge you. Watch news, get articles to see what the government is doing in your area. And then the challenge is, how can you get behind it and support them? Alright, so let's not shift our education, but let's shift the mind shift and let's become positive citizens. Let's do this.